All right, I've got to start with Ted Cruz. He was talking to the Deputy Attorney General over treating concerned parents as domestic terrorists. Now, I want you to know, fact checkers, yes, fact checkers at the Associated Press claimed that the School Board Association did not ask Biden to label parents as domestic terrorists. This is the AP fact check. This is the state of journalism today. They claim the National School Boards Association did not ask the Biden administration to label parents who oppose certain school policies as domestic terrorists. Contrary to false claims circulating online, the National School Boards Association didn't ask the president to label protesting parents as domestic terrorists, and there was no indication Biden or the Justice Department called them terrorists. This is according to the AP. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a memory, but sometimes you can't trust it. So I use a little thing called the interwebs, the information superhighway. It's a newfangled thing.
Sounds exciting.
It is very exciting. Started by Al Gore, but that's a different story. And I went back on the interwebs and I looked for the letter sent to the government from the NSBA, okay? Mm-hmm. And in the letter, they clearly demand that Biden and his team begin an investigation into, quote, acts of malice, violence, and threats against public school officials, end quote, by the parents, which they say, with the right manipulation from the administration, can be classified as, quote, equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism and hate crimes. So I'm not sure what letter the AP was checking, but now the press is trying to spin this that that's a hoax. That's just an internet lie. Can you believe that?
That's amazing. And they obviously just are picking the things that scare people the most. Hate crimes?
Yeah.
What on earth would qualify it as a hate crime?
I don't know. Okay, so one person that didn't buy into the AP fact checkers was Ted Cruz. Here he is yesterday talking to the Assistant Attorney General. Listen.
And yet the Department of Justice looked at that issue and decided to label the parents objecting to this teaching as domestic terrorists. Did you participate in discussions about the memo before it was issued?
Senator, I can't talk about internal deliberations.
You can't talk about whether you participated in discussions about the memo?
No, but what I can tell you is that the Civil Rights Division will play a role going forward. The Attorney General has asked the department to undertake a review, and the division will participate in that review to determine how federal enforcement tools can be used to prosecute crimes.
Do you believe parents objecting to the teaching of critical race theory have civil rights in the democratic process?
I don't follow the question, Senator.
You don't understand the question whether parents objecting to critical race theory have civil rights?
The First Amendment is a core value in our democracy, and
I didn't say free speech. I said civil rights. School board meetings are democratic. They are petitioning your local government. Do they have civil rights that the voting rights gives a damn about?
Yet they have the right to express their view, to challenge the school boards, to ask.
And is it beneficial for the Attorney General to label them as domestic terrorists and direct the FBI to target them?
The Attorney General's memo deals with threats against public servants.
She's reading this.
And says that threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values.
Do you believe parents objecting at school boards are domestic terrorists?
I don't, Senator.
Do you believe Antifa are domestic terrorists?
I don't have a view about Antifa.
Do you believe the Black Lives Matter protesters who burned shops, who firebombed police cars, who murdered police officers, do you believe they're domestic terrorists?
Senator, I believe that we live in a society where people espouse different views, but what we don't want are
Stop. He just said people that kill police officers and burn cities down. Her response was, we live in a very diverse country.
They espouse different views. Like, I like to kill police officers and I don't like to kill police officers.
She can't even answer that question. There's more.
That you're not willing to condemn people who are murdering police officers and firebombing cities because your politics aligns with them. But at the same time, when it comes to parents at school boards, you're perfectly comfortable with calling a mom at a PTA meeting a domestic terrorist. Ms. Clark, with all due respect, this demonstrates why the Democrat proposal to take someone with as long a partisan record as you have and to put you in charge of striking down any voting rights law in the country that you disagree with is nothing but a partisan power grab.
Okay. So that's Ted Cruz yesterday. And I think we all know it's clear where our Justice Department stands. This woman is, if I'm not mistaken, the head of the civil rights enforcement arm of the Justice Department. So she's going to be right on top of all of these things.
You'd think.
You'd think.
And we should point out, you were noting that she was reading it. Mm-hmm. It seemed as if she was reading it for the first time.
Yeah.
You could tell she was stretching out her words as she was trying to read ahead.
Mm-hmm.
That's not someone who has a grasp on the material.
Correct. And somebody who is, speaking from the gut.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Certainly not.
When you're in one of these roles, sometimes you have to make decisions quickly. This is why the president has to know who he is. Right now, I don't think we have a president who knows what his first name is. It's like, who's that guy in the hallway? Mr. President, that's Amir. What?
How did I get in there?
I thought I was here. How am I there? Anyway, they have to have a gut because they have to make a decision quickly. And when you are like, I don't understand the question, I'm asking you if you believe if Satan did exist, if he would be a good guy or a bad guy. I don't understand the question. You should know that pretty quickly. Now, here's the reason why they're doing this, and here's the kind of good news. The reason why they're doing this is because they're losing. You don't have to scare people into not standing up if you're winning. But they're losing the argument, especially on CRT. They're losing the argument, and they're losing the argument on almost every front. And so that's why they have to criminalize political dissent. And it is all just to get you to sit back down. We're in a race right now. Who's going to have the reins of power when this damn thing collapses? Okay? Are we going to stand up and push them back, or are they going to keep us quiet long enough for their plan to collapse this thing into a great reset? Which one's going to happen first? This is why they are trying to scare you in every possible way. You have to know in your heart you are winning. Otherwise, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care. They act like they don't care. They continue to do these crazy things, but then they need the FBI. They need the Capitol Police to be a new intelligence arm. They need when you go to the post office to ask the post office, hey, how can we be a little more efficient on intel? You've got problems. Okay? That's one of the more inefficient things the government does is the Postal Service. Yeah, let's go ask them to help us. When you got the post office spying on people, hey, when you get to that letter, you get to the letter box, just look in there, see what kind of mail they're getting. Okay, I mean, they're losing. They're losing. This is why it is so important right now for you to stand up, but to stand up peacefully, because this is all coming undone. Look they're calling Americans that stand up They call them domestic terrorists. Yet when Cinema is tracked down in a bathroom, that's what happens. That's what happens. Okay, wait a minute. Hold it just a second. Don't you think tracking a woman down in a bathroom with a camera is kind of a bad thing? Wow.
Part of the process, Glenn.
Part of the process. Right. You've got all kinds of things, right? For instance, you have MSNBC saying it was just the Republicans pouncing on that bathroom confrontation. No, I don't think so. You're afraid that you're losing. And that's why you have to grow more and more draconian, more and more totalitarian, more and more a street thug. We must do the opposite right now. Because there's a lot of things that are happening. For instance, the ESPN story, what's her name? Sage Steele?
Sage Steele, yeah.
We talked about that yesterday. Do we happen to have that from yesterday, the audio? Let's play the audio from Sage Steele. She's a big ESPN announcer, and she was on a podcast, and she had just that day gotten her vaccine because she works for ESPN, ABC, Disney. And the mouse is demanding that everyone gets a vaccination or they're fired. So she's just gotten her vaccination, and here's what she says. Listen.
I respect everyone's decision. I really do. Yeah. But to mandate it is sick. Mm-hmm. And it's scary to me in many ways. But I have a job that I love, and frankly, a job that I need. But again, I love it. I just, I'm not surprised it got to this point, especially with Disney. I mean, a global company like.
Yes. Okay, so she's clearly, not thrilled with it, but she loves her job. She wants her job, and so she did it.
And she's doing this interview with a Band-Aid on her arm from her vaccination.
Okay, and so she's speaking her truth. Well, that's not good enough. You not only have to get the vaccine now, but you have to love the fact that you got the vaccine. You have to think that's the greatest thing since sliced bread. You must submit, and it's not just do it. You have to believe it. Do you remember 1984 when they got the rat cage strapped to his face? And he's like, oh, hey, 2 + 2 does equal 5. And what do they say? You don't believe it. You don't believe it. I'm going to give you another. There is submission and now mental submission. And this is coming from a very disturbing place. University of Chicago is been named America's #1 free speech campus. It has it is for a very, very long time had this declaration that we will support diverse thought. Well, not so much anymore. Right now at the University of Chicago, you not only need to have a vaccine, but then you have to sign a statement and mark, I agree to these statements. So if you want to go to attend class, you have to agree in writing to the assertion that, quote, COVID-19 poses a serious public health risk. Then you have to agree on my failure to follow the COVID-19 requirements, like wearing a cloth over your mouth, may endanger yourself and or others, end quote. If you have a religious exemption, I acknowledge that I may be placing myself and others at serious illness should I contract a disease that could have been prevented through proper vaccination, end quote. Well, I don't necessarily agree with all those things. I mean, I don't think it is a serious health threat to everybody. It's a serious health threat to those who are over 65, have other conditions. The survival rate is 99.5%. I don't think that's that's not Ebola. That's not Ebola. So now what they're doing, and this is why it is so critical, if your kids are going to school, do not allow them to say things they don't believe. If the school or your office is having something where you're being taught how to be less white and that white people are all racist or whatever it is, no matter how small it is, do not accept the lie. Don't write it. Don't speak it. You can't do that anymore. They are trying to get you not only to submit, but then you have to be part of the team. No, thank you. No, thank you. Not going to play that game. I have certain inalienable rights that come from God. Among those rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But not limited to those. In fact, they went on for a few more. I have a right to my religion, to openly practice it the way I want. I have the right to free speech that cannot be abridged. Got that one? Free speech cannot be abridged.